You are listening to a Tab Media special report focused on veterans and how we can best serve them once they return home from serving our country. I'm your host, Jennifer Rash. Sharing with us is Dr. Damon Friedman, a decorated combat veteran and retired lieutenant colonel from Air Force Special Operations.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of your show. So grateful, especially this topic is very near and dear to my heart.
Mhm.
Served 20 years in the United States military. I started off first in the Marine Corps. Hoorah to all my devil dogs
Mhm.
out there. Served about 5.5 years, and then I crossed over into the Air Force's elite special operations as a special warfare officer, and served another 15 years, numerous deployments, Iraq and Afghanistan, and a lot of scars,
Mm,
from them, both psychologically, physically,
mhm.
spiritually. So I have a thorough understanding on the service and the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform. Just serving in the longest war in history for the United States.
Goodness. And when did you come home?
I physically retired in 2020.
Okay.
It started off in 2000, so that was 20 years of service
Wow.
and just numerous combat deployments, Iraq and Afghanistan, and all sorts of other places
Right.
that I'm not yet authorized to talk about.
That's the special ops there comes into
Yes,
play, right?
that's right. Mhm.
Well, thank you for your service, first of all, and quite a resume that you've built there. I can only imagine what that brings with it when you were talking about the psychological, the emotional, and all the pieces, and we'll get into all of that because that's really where I want to land. But before we get there, give us a little bit more about you, because of who we are. Tell us about your faith background, and I understand you're a member of a Baptist church in Tampa, if
That's
that's
right.
correct. And so tell us a little bit about that part of your life, and then we'll circle back to the main topic.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm just going to give a shout out to Pastor JJ, at STF, South Tampa Fellowship, an
Okay.
amazing place of worship up there. Just a great place. Men and women who serve the Lord out there. My journey with Jesus is very, very interesting. I think I'm like many other people out there that we're kind of raised up. We get to know the different religions. I kind of embraced Christianity back in high school, my college years. But I think I'm just like, I wasn't very serious. I thought at the time that, just calling myself a Christian, I was a Christian. But really, the moment of truth was in the midst of war. Back in 2010, I'm halfway through my career. I'm in the mission of a lifetime. I've got Taliban surrounding me, and it's intense fighting, 7-day operation, and literally the hottest, most dangerous place in all of Afghanistan, known as the Korngal Death Valley.
Mm,
And it was there in the midst of that war and that battle specifically. That's when I had an incredible, dynamic encounter with God. It's where He captured my attention, and there's so much more in that story, but it was there where my walk was really serious when I came home, and I had to deal with the scars of war. And
mm,
again, it's not just psychological or physical, but it was deep, deep into the soul. It was spiritual in nature.
mm. So how does that inform you now with what you do, which is founder and president of Shield of Faith, um,
Yeah, Shield of Faith
missions?
missions.
Missions.
Yeah,
I couldn't get there. Shield
yeah,
of SOF missions. Yes.
yeah. That's right. So, it's interesting because the way that the organization was established was the same way that I really encountered the Lord back in Afghanistan. So in 2010, I'm
Mhm.
going through this incredible battle, and I'm coming back from it. It was there that I prayed. It was there that God captured my attention. It was there that a miracle happened, where we all kind of came back from that intense fighting. It was two special forces teams, over 100. Some intelligence reported over 200 enemy out there, and it was 72 hours worth of fighting, and it was intense. And I remember calling upon God, asking Him for a miracle. Like, if you're up there, I needed some help. We needed some help. And I made a commitment that if there was any way whatsoever that we could all come home. I made a commitment to God that I would worship him the rest of my days. And that is there where my faith was forged, like through fire, literally in war. And then when I came back, and it's so important that the audience understands this, I was dealing with a lot of issues: post-traumatic stress disorder, mild traumatic brain injury, synonymous with concussion, moral injury, which is defined as what we call it, a blunt trauma to the soul. People are having existentialistic crisis, and they're trying to figure out, like, what is happening in this world? There's so much bad, there's so much evil, there's so much pain, there's so much blood, there's so much sacrifice. And we're all asking God for some answers to these very difficult questions. And so when I came back from the war, I was struggling with suicidal ideations. And, full disclosure, I grew up in LA, downtown LA, low income housing. My mom was a single mom, worked for $4.25 an hour, making, beds, odd jobs just to put rice and beans on the table. Not really the best place to live, but my mom gave us her very best. She's literally the first Wonder Woman of our lives. I say that because my upbringing was really tough. I had a very abusive biological father. And so I really started struggling back when I was a kid. And so then fast forward, I joined the military. I'm now involved in war. I'm involved in killing. I am killing. My friends are dying. They're coming back from home and they're killing themselves. There's a suicide epidemic happening right now with our veteran community. And so now all of a sudden in 2010, I'm coming back from that intense combat, and I'm in my living room and I'm struggling with the idea of, taking my own life. And I mentioned over 20 veterans take their lives every single day. So that you start putting everything together. I just came back from that war, and here I am, and I'm going to get a little bit a little intense here because it's very important that the audience understands this, because what I'm going to share is very common within the veteran community. I'm sitting there, with my pistol, and I'm dealing again with all of these issues. And it's a lot of people will come to this point where they'll go, I'm better off dead. And, I'm worth 1.4 million dead, my wife and I, we joke about this all the time. It's like, but I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking, I haven't really been such a great dad. I've been very absent. I really wasn't a good husband. Really dealing with a lot of self-medication with alcohol and just trying to get these bad thoughts, these, terrible dreams, and so much pain happening from, the soul and just the things that I've seen and the things that I've been a part of. And people, a lot of veterans, especially combat veterans, will come to a point and they just think, it's just better if I'm just gone. And you know what? Then the pain goes away. Now, there's no doubt it's the most selfish thing that anybody can do. I know this, but I'll tell you, the pain gets so intense, it's so overwhelming that you just sometimes just want to press the easy button, So I'm in the living room and all of a sudden, it's dark. I've got my pistol, it's loaded. And then all of a sudden, God shows up. The second time he showed up, to experience God is one of the most incredible moments a human can have. I experienced God on top of that mountain in Cornwall in the midst of combat. And I experienced God again in the living room. And he said something to me, and it was so powerful. And I get emotional because it's like it was like yesterday. I mean, what are we, 14 years now into this? From that moment. And I just remember God speaking to me. And he said, I've got these incredible plans for you, Damon. And they're plans to persevere and to win and not to lose. They're not evil. And man, I'll tell you, through the midst of all that darkness that I was dealing with, man, I just saw the light and I believed him. And so I put my gun away and I started on a journey of healing. And it was psychological, it was physical, it was social, it was everything. And then God kind of started putting me all back together again. He makes these promises, and his promise to me was, I remember hearing this in this deep prayer. And I was like, God, this mind is just messed up, and this heart is so dark.
Mhm.
It's so black. And you know what he told me? He said, I'm not going to fix your mind. I'm not going to fix your heart. I'm going to give you a new one. And
Mm.
he just radically changed and transformed my life. And, after a year and a half, I'm feeling better again. And guess what? The military redeploys me in 2012. And then all of a sudden, I'm literally I'm back in the heart of Afghanistan, Bagram, Afghanistan. And there it was that God pressed something so powerful upon my heart that month. Over 4 of my friends and acquaintances and people I work with committed suicide. And it was there in Afghanistan. God pressed upon my heart. What would it be like if we started a nonprofit that we would combat the suicide epidemic, and the same path, the same journey, all this healing that I received? What would it look like if
Mhm.
we could do that for our military veterans? Boom. And then all of a sudden, the birth of SOF missions, Shield of Faith missions. I'll stop there.
No, no, no. Oh, just heart-wrenching, but yet redeeming, but yet uh, heartwarming, all of it, the emotions. Um, so as you look at that and you look back and I know you tell this story probably several times a day. Number one, was that the last time that suicide was part of your thought pattern? Was that it? Were you were you through
I'm
that?
I'm
Or
not gonna I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. I think the idea and the concept of suicide is very prevalent. Um, you know, Today I'm still dealing with post-concussive syndrome. I've
Mm,
had 5 mild traumatic brain injury registered concussions.
okay.
I still struggle with sensitivity to light. I still struggle with blurred vision. I still struggle with headaches. I still struggle with flashbacks. I still struggle, with a lot of these physical issues. But
Right.
there's a difference now. Now I'm more equipped. First, I understand the education's critical. You have to
Okay.
understand like what's going on. When you
Mm.
don't know, it's just worse. You just feel hopeless.
I was gonna
Number
say you
two,
probably do end up feeling like no one understands, you're alone. There's no hope, right? Just you
yeah,
just
I definitely am. I'm there. Society just doesn't really understand, and that's why veterans are very isolated.
right.
But I think, we also know that God has a plan. We have Paul. And think about it. I mean, he and God they were connected by the hip. We know this.
Mm-hmm.
And yet Paul had some issues. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you read in Second Corinthians, he's got like this manifesto, this long dissertation, this monologue of like, I'm getting beat up, I'm being stoned, I'm being left for dead, I'm getting shipwrecked, and then the daily anxiety of the church. I mean, if there's anybody who had PTSD, mild traumatic brain injuries, and moral injury, it's that dude,
True.
right? It's
True.
chronic pain. And yet it says in scripture that, he asked God to remove this thorn not once, not twice, but 3 times. And theologians, everybody has this idea. For me, I think, because I know what it's like, I think he just wanted to find some peace. Like, could there be a moment where I'm no longer being persecuted, attacked, and like literally people trying to kill me?
Right.
And God said, "No, I have a plan for you."
Mm.
And pain is a part of it. So for me, there is joy in it. Do I like it? No, but I know that God is using me in a very powerful way. And what else do we want as kingdom leaders than to make an atomic impact and establish a legacy while we're here on this earth in a short period of time? So
Mhm.
I have to embrace it. And the reality is that this is how I'm constantly solving problems, and this is what gives me hope to help other warriors that have gone through the same, challenges that I have, and
Mm.
and it works, and it definitely helps me on a daily basis, literally.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, tell us a little bit of how the program works, or is it long term? Is it um, a retreat setting? Is it more of a workshop? Is it more lifelong? How do you
Yeah.
work
So
through SOF, and what does that mean exactly?
we have this thing called the Be Resilient program.
Okay.
And, we've got 3 deliverables. One is the Be Resilient training, it's the education about these conditions. Number 2, Be Resilient retreats.
Hmm.
There are a couple day events, and they come in different shapes and sizes. And it is literally a retreat, kind of the physical pillar. But then you have our main deliverable,
Hmm.
the medical clinic, the Be Resilient clinics.
Okay.
And this is a 1-week intensive. And what we do is our hospital is a resort. And I'm going to pause for a split second. I've
Mhm.
been in the hospital. I've woken up in the hospital 3 times.
Okay.
And the last time I was there as an inpatient for 3 months and then 9 months outpatient. And it's right here in Tampa, Florida at Haley's Hospital. And I'll tell you what, I'm really grateful for the staff. Saved my life. But I'll tell you what, nothing stinks more than sleeping on a hospital bed wrapped with plastic,
Right. Right.
and the food is terrible,
Right.
and the smell, it's just this sterile smell, and people waking you up at 1 or 2 in the morning. I love
Mhm.
the staff, but the hospitals, I think, keep a lot of combat veterans away. So our hospital is a resort, phenomenal food, phenomenal stay, amazing, golf courses and all that serene environment.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we make sure that there's like no way anybody can say no, right? So it's a 1 week intensive. We have about 20 to 30 healthcare practitioners, and we focus on a lot of different things: PTSD, mild traumatic brain injury, moral injury, insomnia, chronic pain, um, chronic stress,
Mhm.
fuel. That's everything you put inside your body, output, exercise, things like that.
Mhm.
And what we do is we focus on 10 veterans at a time.
Oh,
And so we've got about 20 to 30 healthcare practitioners. 1 week, it's from 7 in the morning to 7 at night, a Mayo clinic. And I mean, they get to see, for example, one day they see the head physician, top notch, best in the business.
okay.
They see psychologists, they see social workers, they see strength conditioning coaches, nutritionists, physical therapists, acupuncturists, massage therapists, chiropractors, all of our spiritual mentors and leaders. And that happens throughout the entire day. This is happening every single day. And by the end of the 5 days, the
Mhm.
week, we know where the problems are, we know what the issues are, and then we provide a follow-on care plan. So just imagine being in a hospital for a week, trying to figure out what all the problems are. We're doing testing, bumper to bumper, head to toe. And then at the end of the week, it's like, we know exactly what your problem is. And check it out. Now we're going to give you this plan. We're going to give you this plan, and it's good for 1 complete year.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we do follow-on care plan with
Mm.
all of our healthcare practitioners on what they recommend, and it's all for free, and it's all for 1 complete year. We do 30, 60, 90, 120 day, 180 a day checkup in 1 whole year. And we have the best in the business, and we spend a lot of money on every individual warrior. But check it out. We've had over 300 warriors come in as inpatient, that's what we call it.
Mhm.
We've served over 3,000 because not all of them need that 1 week intensive.
Right.
And we have zero suicides. Just think about this: zero suicides by the grace of God. And I'm
Mm.
not knocking on any wood,
No,
because I
that's just
trust in God with all of my heart, mind, and soul. And I know that these men and women are finding their purpose. So our mission statement is that we're empowering warriors to find purpose and
mhm,
be resilient. That purpose is we're introducing them to who God is.
mhm,
And when they find who God is, they start learning more about what their purpose is in life. And
mhm.
then we also provide all the pragmatic components, and that's the psychological, the physical, the social, the cognitive, and of course, in an awesome way, the spiritual, aspects of what does it mean to be resilient.
Wow. Well, I can't imagine there's not a large waiting list just wanting to get in, but, are veterans easily, are they lining up, or do you have to persuade them?
No, not at all. First of all, it's interesting. I'll answer this one question. We're stacked.
Okay.
All of our clinics, I think during the summer, by the summer, we were already full for the rest of the year. We get some guys and some gals that drop off, and there's some standbys, but we're stacked. And I think we're in this point where we're really wanting to create awareness of not just the incredible impact that we're making, but the incredible need that we have, right? We've
Yeah.
got 1.5 million veterans in Florida. We
Mhm,
have 20 million in America. And the reality is that the
mhm,
majority of them are not getting any care at all. And
mm,
so in our program, we don't just provide all that psychological, physical, social, and cognitive care, but we're introducing people to Jesus.
mhm,
And I would say that 8 out of 10, with confidence, I say that 8 out of 10 will walk out, having a relationship with the Lord. I will tell you, like my toughest. I remember having one Muslim, three atheists, three agnostics at 7, and
Mhm.
then like two cultural Christians. I was pretty, they're like keisters, like they show up
Mhm.
on Easter and Christmas, and then like one faithful Christian. And then by the end of the day, by the end of the week, we're all praying in the name of Jesus. I mean, so there's so much stuff going on. We're not just healing people's minds. We're not just healing people's bodies. We're not just healing, getting them socially reintegrated. We're getting them introduced to the commander of the universe. That's who I call Jesus, the greatest general of all time, right? The freedom fighters of freedom. And we're making an atomic impact. It's been nuclear, but we're stacked, and there's a huge waiting list. So
Oh, wow. Definitely your mission field for sure.
it
Uh,
is, it is.
no
It's
question.
an
And
unreached people group.
it does, for sure. And
Uh-huh.
I can only imagine the ones you're bringing in and sending back out are starting to make a difference as well as they're floating through. What are some just some practical tips you could offer uh, those of us who are civilians and can truly never understand what you've seen, what you've done, where you've been, what tortures you, all those kinds of things. What are some tips that we can do as civilians to be better at serving our veterans and be kinder, help bet more? What are some things we should
Well,
learn?
I was just in another interview, and they asked me kind of the same question, and I had to really think about it. And I'm gonna say two things,
Okay.
especially for Veterans Day. Okay,
Mhm,
um, first of all, I'm going to talk about when people say thank you for your service,
mhm,
um, and then I'm going to also talk about what usually follows on when people say, "Man, I almost served." Okay, this is super important for everybody here.
okay,
Okay,
okay, good.
the first is I think that when people say thank you for your service, a lot of times it's kind of an empty gesture. And I'm
Mhm,
going to tell you why. So I served 20 years. I didn't just live for my country. I didn't just fight for my country. I've bled for my country.
mhm,
And there are many of us. A lot of people, they'll say thank you. And my question is it, if you're really grateful for it,
mhm,
right? Because I fought for everybody.
mhm,
I fought for every man, every woman,
mhm.
every color, every
Mhm.
religion,
Right,
every lifestyle. I fought for the American person, right?
right.
Um, Republican, Democrat,
Mhm, right.
conservative, liberal,
Everybody.
Christian. I fought for all. I fought for everyone for the sake of freedom. Okay.
Right.
Um, but when people say thank you, I always wonder, well, if you're really that grateful, what are you doing um, to truly thank us? Are you providing? Are you supporting a nonprofit that helps veterans? Are you
Good.
involved in, maybe when active duty deploy, that you are part of, maybe sending, gifts overseas? Are you, helping out veterans? I mean, we got homeless veterans. We've got, a drug epidemic. The addiction of fentanyl.
Mm,
We've got veterans that can't pay their bills. I mean, think about it. You got soldiers that serve so long, and then they come out to this ugly world. Just think about it.
mhm.
Just think about this. When I first joined, Bill Clinton was the president. When I got out in the middle of the pandemic, everyone had to wear masks. There was this extremist of social justice movement going on,
Mhm.
highly polarizing presidential situation, the far right against the far left. I mean, this is the weirdest world that I could possibly enter in. So when
Absolutely.
you say thank you, I want to know, what exactly are you doing to be engaging in our veteran community? Because we have fought, we have bled, we've sacrificed for America. So
Right.
that so I,
That's
I'm
good.
that's my thing. And even in churches,
Mm,
we go into churches, and we go to these major populated states, churches that have high volumes of veterans, and they themselves don't even really have, veteran community groups, or
right.
they themselves don't have resources or education or anything like that. So if you really want to thank me, then be actively engaged. Do something about it, right? And
Mhm.
then the second thing is, don't do this. Don't do this, America. Don't go up to a veteran and say, "Man, I almost served," because the reality is that you didn't. Okay, and it might not be a big deal to some veterans, but it's a pretty big deal to most, because it's a great sacrifice. You
Mhm.
know, when you sign on that bottom line, you give up your rights. You become government property. They tell you, I can't tell you how many Christmases I missed, how many
Mhm.
Thanksgivings I missed, how many birthdays I missed, how many anniversaries I missed. All these really important dates I missed. I can't tell you how many of them. So I'm overseas,
Mhm.
right? And I got a rifle in my hand and I'm sleeping in the dirt, right? For Christmas,
Mhm.
right? For Thanksgiving. So please don't tell me that you almost served. You
Mhm.
know, that's just my 2 cents. I'm sharing that because I hear it all the time in the clinics, like, I hate it. I'm like, well, maybe if I get a chance to talk about it on the
Good.
net, I will. So I did.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's so helpful because I think, so many times, uh, sometimes it's just awkward. And we just we know that we are indebted beyond anything we could ever even put words around or do, but we don't really know sometimes how to appropriately do things. Some people I see will go pick up a the meal tab if they see someone in their uniform or fatigue,
That's
just
good. That's really cool.
things
That
like
I mean,
that.
that is saying, "Hey, man, thank you." I mean, you know what? If you want to thank a vet today, go to the restaurant. Who's a vet? Buy their lunch. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I mean, that's nice. I
Mhm.
always like it when people go, "Hey, I really appreciate your service, man, and I want you to know that my family every Thanksgiving we invite veterans at our
That's
dinner table."
yeah,
That's
that's
showing
right.
appreciation. That's saying thank you. That's real. Or we have a fishing a boat company, and we
Mhm.
take them out fishing all the time, and we just do this to show them that means something to me. Thank you for taking care of my
They're
Marines and my
going
soldiers.
beyond just
Yes,
saying the
yes,
word,
that's
they're
right,
actually
because it's
looking
easy
for
to
a way.
say thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you took two
yeah,
seconds
right.
you know
But looking for a way to say, "I'm gonna
Yes, ma'am.
intentionally make a difference. I'm gonna
Yes,
intentionally
ma'am.
do that," yeah. And
Hmm.
I had a friend tell me, um, one time, someone said the "thank you for your service" phrase, and his off to the side to me, he said, "I wish people would just act like they really cared and thanked that they really thanked us." It was like watching so many people, like you were talking about how polarized we are now and watching so many people be so ugly to each other.
Hmm.
That's what kinda hurt him was, if you really are thankful, then don't do what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Actually find
you
a
know,
way to work together.
one thing that I do, and I don't just do it on Veterans Day.
Mhm.
I love the old timers, man. I really do. If I see a World War II hat,
Oh,
if I
wow.
see a Vietnam, especially Vietnam, how it was really hard for them. If I see them if I go to dinner somewhere and I see one, man, I just get that waiter and I said, that's on me, but don't let them know. Just tell them, thank you for
Mhm.
your service.
Wow.
I love it. If I see a young devil dog and I see his haircut, I know he's a Lance Corporal. Man, they make $2 an hour, sister. Okay. And I
Wow.
see them out in lunch or something. I go, you see that Marine over there? You put that on my tab. Man, I love my brothers and sisters because
Mhm.
I know what they're dealing with.
Mhm.
And I served 20 years. I've given my all. I gave my best years to my nation, my best years, and I'm just trying to catch up. You
Mhm.
know, spending time with my kids, spending time with my wife. It's been a few years now,
Mhm.
being present. Because we are always bringing the war home. That's what I was doing for 20 years, and so now I think to myself, I see that young devil dog, and I'm thinking, I handed that torch to them, and
Yeah.
it's a that rucksack that he's carrying is heavy. I know it's heavy, and he's going to have to do things that are unfathomable, and it's going to change him. And so I respect that next generation. I love them. They're
Yeah.
my people, and I want to make sure that they know that I love them and I appreciate them. They don't need, and sometimes just a small gesture, a cup of coffee or something, just say, man, thanks a lot. And this cup of coffee, that makes me feel better. You know what I mean? I don't need it. I just think about the others. I've been super blessed. Life is good. I'm still all in one piece. I got all my hands and feet,
Right,
and
right. So
I
true.
get to talk to you. So things are
Uh,
going well.
Good. Well, as we wrap up, think about those young military men and women right now, or the ones just getting out, or the ones that you're going to be uh, very likely seeing at some point.
Yeah.
What are some tips or what suggestions that you would say, hey, from my experience from all these years later, Here's what I would suggest keep in mind, think about, do. What would you say to those veterans and military personnel?
You know, the one thing that I wish is that I wish I was more present at home.
Mhm,
Um, you know, uh, it's amazing how loyal you are to the military. I just made a statement saying that I gave my best years to my nation. I just wish I was more present when I would come home.
okay.
It's just so hard to shake it off, you know.
Mhm,
Um, it's just really hard. But
mhm,
the thing is that when the military is done with you, they're gone. When you check out, when you get your DD 214, which is your last day in uniform, you take that uniform off. Your daughter, your son, your spouse, they're still there.
mhm,
You know, at least I hope that they are.
mhm,
So be present and intentional, because those are gifts of God. And, like the scriptures say, they're your first ministry.
mhm.
And I wish I was more present. So that's what my word would be to them. And cherish those moments, because you don't know how long you have. There are a lot of my brothers that never made it home, and their kids never got to see, the best years with their father. So, or their mother. So
Right.
that would
Understand.
be my recommendation.
Mhm. Very powerful for sure. What are a couple of resources that you would suggest?
Yeah. So I recommend that everybody go to sofmissions.org.
Mhm,
I mean, we have a plethora amount of resources. We've got the beresilient.training.com
mhm,
that was developed by myself and one of the leading brain health experts in our country, Dr. Marissa McCarthy.
mhm,
And as a collective, we put this education together, and it's from a vast amount of resources, of healthcare experts in the psychological realm, the physiological, the cognitive, the social, and the spiritual, all packaged together. There's a lot of modules and a lot of education, and also learn the resources that we have. If you are a veteran out there and you're looking for hope and healing, please check this out. If you're a parent or a brother or sister or a sibling or just a friend, and you know of a veteran that needs the help, man, educate yourself. Don't be ignorant. Just spend a little bit of time, read our resources, learn about it, watch some of our videos, and then and the more you get educated, the more you can kind of talk our language, and you'll be a little bit more understanding, and you'll be able to communicate easier, and more importantly, you'll be able to help them actually find the resources that they need. So go to sofmissions.org. Don't delay. We're here to help. We have the best team ever, and I promise you, we will take care of you.
mm. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it, and look forward, perhaps for the next time that we can talk a little bit more about our military, our veterans, and just their need, and what God can do, and change their lives for the sake of God's glory.
Absolutely. Absolutely.